is the Rangers Journal Night.
Okay, so we've looked at the keeper and defence, the kind of requirements on them, if you will, under a Russel Martin system. One of the other things that he is pretty well known for is his team are extremely energetic. Pressing is, it's an integral part of his game. And what we've got here is just a couple of examples of it, both of which led to goals. One's a bit more structured, one's just, genuine result of the press. So just talk us through what we're seeing here first, Dylan.
So here you've got the player off screen with the Southampton strikers pressing, right? So you don't see that. So if we count him in the defending team, the white team, you've got him on the ball who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white players, white team players, I should say. And then you've got on a Southampton team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So actually pressing an overload. We've got a 6-3-5. That's how committed they are to going and winning this ball. And he did say that he likes to dominate the game on and off the ball. And this is a prime example of it, mate, for me. They don't just press for pressing sake, they go and press with intent. And you'll see that here when we play the clip. Again, there's 5 players in this clip you can see, and there's 6 players going to press. So that tells you how or what their intent is to go and win the ball high up the park. And then they've got 6 players here to go and play if they do win it back and go and score a goal. But we'll see here when it goes.
Yeah, and worth noting as well, this is basically level with their 18-yard box. This clip starts. As you say, it's an extremely high press. Here we go. So press him, leads to a bad pass, press the keeper, he misses it, and it's a goal. Now, in of itself, that's simple stuff, but how often have we done that last season?
Yeah, I know. It's not just that, mate. It's really, that's their full sort of front line and midfielders going and pressing there. Do you know what I mean? They're all going, they're all committed. Now, this is probably how we get. It was so poor in the Premier League because up against a better quality opposition, you can't really commit to that at that level. They will be able to pick a pass. If that goes back to the goalie, the goalie dinks over the top of the press, striker drops in, and again, then you're going and doing what he was doing in the clips we just watched.
Yeah,
they're doing that against you. So, but this is a wee bit more different. Here when we play this out, again, you'll see 4 Southampton players surround 2 of them, and then they win the ball back and they break, and we'll pause it when they break, and we'll have a wee talk about it. Pause it there, yeah. So again, there was 4-v2, 4v3 there, but we pressed them into making a mistake. We then drive forward with the ball. This striker here, for me, this is what we talk about transition. So you've just been from defending, you're now attacking. What's the right thing to do? And this is where clever players come into play. The striker here makes a great run. It might be just look like a normal run, but he can just run straight into the penalty box, but he doesn't. He starts to run in behind the 2 defenders. It then creates a space for the pass to go into the left mid or the left striker, who finishes it brilliantly. Without him making that run, and it's a selfless run, I should say. It's because he's not. He might get the ball, but he's probably not going to get the ball. But he knows if he makes that run, takes the defender away him, the space is going to open up behind him for somebody arriving in, and that's exactly what happens, mate.
Yep, and here we go. You can see the moment that centre back, the number 5, realises what he's done.
He's like, what did I do? Did I go with him or did I just stay in the mirror? And listen, it's a great finish, but again, something that we don't do. I think.
Yeah, I presume. Yeah, so for me, I think that run, it's exactly what we want, and to be honest, exactly what we've been missing. That kind of intelligence to drag players about the pitch. I don't think it was there last season, and certainly not anywhere close to often enough.
Yeah, everything with Rangers was in front of the defenders. The only couple of times we've seen them going in behind, and that's where maybe at Parkhead when we seen the Raskin Dio goal, they were running in behind, the ball was played, flicked to Dio and they finished it. And that's such a great goal, but we don't do it nearly often enough. Again, that's just a striker running make a diagonal run there. It's not a hard thing to do, but it takes that, especially when you're in the mind of defending. How quick can you change to then transition into attacking? And what I need to do here for my teammates to score a goal, I need to drag a defender away. Ball goes in, great finish. So really, really well done.
That's it, mate. So we've covered the kind of demands from the back building up, and we've obviously had a brief look at the press. One of the most pressing matters that Martin's going to have to address in the SPFL is, of course, the low block. So we've taken a look at this one. This is game Southampton won 5-0, and we've highlighted a couple of instances where I think you'll very much see a low block in this. So I'm just going to play this first one. Again, quite a few players back, but this is something I see quite a lot of when I'm looking at Martin footage, and I think it's something we'll see. Something we've been crying out for, which is actually getting to the byline. Now, there's a couple of things in here for me, so I'm just going to bring it back a few. And I think first thing I want to highlight is the intelligence of the run here. So this chap here, he keeps driving in, right? Realistically, he's not going to do an awful lot, but he's occupying that defender. So let me just play it. I'll pause it when we get to that kind of space that the boys got, and I'll let you take over, Dylan. So here we go. Just look in there. So you can see he's built himself a bit of space just by checking his run a wee bit.
Aye, so basically, obviously, the guy on the ball here, he's been direct. He's taking his defender on 1v1, which we don't see a lot of. And I think, especially taking a low block, you have to see a lot more of it. You have to have players who can go and try and create 1v1s or take players on 1v1. The guy that we spoke about who's busting into the box, he's actually attracted two defenders with him. So the guy that's following him, and the one that's at the front of the sort of diamond shape, there's two at the front of it. The one that's closest to the Southampton player, he really busts a gut to get back in there. Whereas if he just held where he was, he would probably still be in the space the Southampton striker's taking up. So again, he busts his gut because he thinks that, again, a square 5-yard pass here, and the ball's going to the player who's made the run into the box, you know what I mean? But he continues beyond, and these two Southampton players, again, quite clever. They just hold back. They're waiting for the ball to find them as opposed to go and try and attack the ball. And again, it's something that I imagine that's been worked on a training ground. If you get to the byline, we don't want to maybe fizz it across goal all the time. So can we hold a shape, hold our position, find a wee bit of space, and see if the ball can find us? And that's exactly what happens, mate. He's unlucky here with the finish.
Yeah, that's it. And getting to the byline and cutting back, I can absolutely get on board with that.
100%.
Okay, so next up, this one, again, is more about using the width of the pitch for me. I think there's a pretty obvious pass, which you can see highlighted in the very bottom corner here. But actually, the arrow shows where he plays it, and you spoke about this in the earlier clips when we were looking at the defensive build-up. Stretching the pitch is going to be massive against low blocks. If I just play it out. Now, Dylan, I know you had some thoughts here. Potentially, we tweak that would have made it a wee bit of a better move. So, do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah. So, if you can, Dave, can you bring up the two lines again? Just the split second before it. So, just here, right now. Obviously, the viewers don't know what's going to happen here, but what happens is the man on the ball ends up again taking on his man on as a 1v1, and it kind of breaks down. The player who played the ball, the centre defensive mid, he makes that run into the edge of the box, and he should be penetrating that space between the two defenders here, going running in beyond there. Now, he gets to there, and then because the player takes him on, you'll see the way it works out. It doesn't really happen. What could happen here is the man who played the ball, the centre defensive mid or centre mid, plays it out wide. If he makes a busting run through the two defenders, the guy who's getting the ball lays it off to the left back. The left back can just play him through, and again, that's how you go and break the low block down. Dead simple. 3 passes, and you would be beyond their back line. But the way that they work out here, and again, it's just different different ways that you can go and attack it. The way they work it here is they try to take his man 1v1 and put a cross in. But the alternative that I was thinking about is, can the centre mid go and run in beyond? And this is what you do see a lot of, and he plays well. Laying it off to the defender there, and he plays him through. But we'll see how it plays out, Dave.
Yep. Here we go. As you say, he does go for the byline again, but this time the fullback gets in and breaks it down. Now, next up is another move, and again, this is just dragging people all over the place. So you can see this attacker here.
We're looking for him to do that, the last clip, and this is what he does in this clip. Do you know what I mean? So that's the centre mid running in beyond.
So, and if we just see it, he elects not to take him up on it. So he cuts back in. Very Cherney-esque, actually, of what we saw just in the season gone past. I think one thing that's very clear here instantly is this low block. Anyone that's watched Rangers will recognise this for what it is. This is a team sitting deep, just trying to totally avoid it. And again, we spoke in the defensive bit about variation. I think that's what we see here. So I'll just roll it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I want him to do that every time, but now and again, actually, well worth a punt.
See, the thing is, Dave, as well there, see when you had the lines up showing how many players you had in the box, the difference with Rangers is it's usually maybe only Dessers that's in there and everything's in front of them. There's 3 or 4 players in there that are going and playing inside that 18-yard box, if you have a look at it. So here, usually we're all at the edge of this box here and then out wide. Do you know what I mean? And that's where the whole shoe passing comes from. But here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players in the box, and then the players who are arriving at the edge of the box. And that's what the difference is when you're trying to penetrate a low block.
Yeah. And speaking of these players arriving, you can see just coming into play now. So that's more players outside of the 4 we had in the box already pushing up, trying to get themselves involved. And again, I think that just speaks to the all-out attack nature that Martin wants to play.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
So we'll play this next clip. Now, this one here, again, that low block, instantly recognisable. That could be a Dundee, a St Johnstone, Ross County. You know, it could be any of these teams that we played last year. And
the difference here, Dave, we've got is obviously we've drew lines here. The players are playing in between these lines. They're not standing shoulder to shoulder, Wendy. They're not hiding. Arguably, you could pass it into all 3 of the players that we've highlighted there. We're also keeping one for the pitch here, or 2 at the bottom of the screen here are staying wide, and our left wingers keeping us wide out there. We've not got a striker on the shoulder of the defender. He's come in to create that space to make it tight and drag that defender. Does he stay there, or does he go out into the middle of the park with him? And that's what we've highlighted here. Do you know what I mean? And that's where, again, you go and create the different ways that you break it down.
It's keeping these guys honest, isn't it? Because by being here, these guys have to stay out here. If these 2 weren't here, then okay, they'd be in a boot, but so would these defenders. And suddenly it's that congested, you're struggling to get a ball through. Whereas just, you know, hanging out wide here, it gives these guys in between the lines a chance to do their thing. So we'll play it on. Patience. Now, I said it earlier, not something we're great at, right? I think we're going to have to get used to it, because that's another thing that I've picked up with Martin when he's kind of setting up. If it's not on, he won't force it for the sake of forcing it. He will just recycle possession, go again, try and hit a different angle of attack, try and get a spare man as he does. But there is going to need to be an element of patience amongst the fans, I think. So ultimately, as I said, they've just tapped it about here. They've not really done anything with it. They've played it safe.
But what they've done, Dave, sorry to cut you off here, what they've done is they've moved the defence, they've moved them about to the point where now's the trigger, where the 2 players that you spoke about earlier, keeping the 2 honest, they're still in the same position, but the strikers stayed out it. Now we've got a midfielder, that's what Scotty Alfred was really good at, running in from deep and going and penetrating that back line there. And this is where the pass comes in, the ball goes in, and again, it's a really good move. But like you say, just recycling it with one or two passes to then, when it opens up and it works, everybody here knows what they're doing and knows their job.
That's it. And if we play it on, you'll see here. Now, goal. There we go. Well worked.
And even that, Dave, they're not standing in ceremony watching that pass through. No. They're then going and following it up, and he takes a touch, and it's maybe a poor touch. If he's here, he's not scoring that goal, but there's a man coming in behind him to go and follow it in. Brilliant.
And interestingly, we do see that in one of the later on clips, a really good example of that. But as I said, this is just where we're going to have to learn to be a wee bit patient. I get sometimes tapping it between defenders isn't the most exciting of stuff, but that is how you then set the scene for the next attack, so to speak. And we saw in a very short order of time, it went from really congested and really on to suddenly we'd freed up a wee bit of space to run into.
And then it's one killer pass you're in.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about the space here. I said it earlier, it seems to be something that Martin has his teams really wired to do, is to seek out that bit of space, get yourself free so that you can receive a pass. Now, obviously, we've done that here. Again, you can see, despite being a lot of bodies in the pitch, he has carved out some space for him. But chap on the wings here as well, I think it's really interesting. Dylan, you picked this up, so I'll let you talk us through this bit.
Right, so basically, they've obviously had the ball out the left-hand side here, and as you can see, because that's where the bodies and the balls have came from, so there's more of bodies over there. Your centre mid here's picking up great space. Centre back just fires it in. Your winger here's standing on the line, watching the line, but his body position is what I picked up most. That's where he wants to go. He can see the ball, he can see the line, he can see that he wants to run to, and again, that's just a clever player there. And you can coach it, maybe not at that age, but if as he's grown up, you can coach it, but maybe not obviously once you're a man, it's very hard to pick up new things and stuff like that. But body position wise, we've highlighted it with the two red lines. That's his sort of field of view. That's what he can see. When the ball goes into centre mid, he just times his run perfect. Centre mid knows exactly what to do next. He gets the ball in a half turn, and as soon as he turns with the ball in a half turn, the winger's in behind. And again, it's 1-2 passes. I don't know how many passes were before it, but what I'm saying is two killer passes almost to be through on goal. It's just really, really good football again, mate. It's simple as well, though. It's very, very, very simple. There's nothing like Pep Guardiola happening here. It's just moving off the ball, finding a bit of space, and then executing your passes mostly.
I think the quality of the pass is one, but again, this ability to find space that I keep talking about is exceptional, to be honest. And it appears throughout. There you go. There's your winger. One pass, bang. Now, do you know what? There's probably an argument that he should have done a wee bit better there. Ultimately, Aribo blasts it over. But at the same time, to get himself in that position, I imagine there probably was a bit of tapping about between the centre back out to the full back prior to that.
That's just to create that space for him to wander into. Do you know what I mean?
Finding that right moment, pulling them about so that you can create the space and then use it. And I think for me, I suspect when he first starts, there might actually be a bit of frustration because some of this stuff isn't going to come off. But longer term, if he can get his team at Rangers playing like this, I think it breeds success in the Scottish League.
100%.
And so this, again, we're talking variation this time. So this isn't really being clever. This is just a timed run, but it's executed really well. And again, gives them that through ball to run in. There you go. Through. Now, penalty.
Yeah.
So, all right, we probably wouldn't have got that because, John Beaton would have probably given a foul against us. But other than that, it's just another example of not everything having to be played the same way. That one was just one dink over the top. and we were
What
through.
we're seeing a low block there, right? And there's two banks of four clearly there. The only difference is there maybe no camping inside the box. Do you know what I mean? There's a little bit of space here. That's no duty because that's where they want to play. That's because Southampton are playing where they want them to come and win the ball. Southampton are playing with the ball in there to create that space in behind.
Attract them out almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We try and do it at the edge of the box where there's no space to run in behind. So that's where the difference here comes in. That's still a low block. It's just a different part of the pitch because of where Southampton's playing it. And then it's like you see, it's a different variation. A wee dink ball over the top with a runner and behind. And again, it's another way of attacking or breaking down a low block.
Yeah, really well worked chance. I think, as I said, the boy doesn't exactly do much with it. He does win the penalty, in fairness.
Yeah.
But just clever play again. This is a counter-attack now. And again, I'm going to come to you on this one. This, in theory, should have been really dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So it was a good interception, first off. Boy's driven with the ball, which, let's face it, Jeff Day's done that all season, right? I know people have views on him, but the one thing that you can't dispute is that he is an excellent ball carrier. Yep. So I can see him slotting into that kind of role very, very quickly. He's got 3 attackers up with him. Ultimately, they don't make the most of this, and I'll come to you to talk us through why that is.
It's just, for me, mate, it's just a little bit of laziness, I would say, for the players. They're just running in the hope that something happens here. I'd imagine if you had to ask Russel Martin, he'd be a bit disappointed as well. He's got a 4v3 here. He's got all the time in the world. They all run straight, which makes it easy for the 3 defenders just to stay with their man. The man with the ball just runs straight as well. So everything's just boring. There's nothing happening. If your middle striker here, runs out to your right winger and your right winger cuts in or overlaps or whatever it is they do, and the person with the ball starts to come inside, the defenders are going to have to swap over and move a press, and it just doesn't happen. And it's a poor counter attack. And I'm quite surprised because he is so meticulous. I'm quite surprised that we see it. But again, I don't know what time of the game it's at. You don't know. The players might have been burst at this point for running. But something that they could have done a wee bit better with. And that's the reason why we highlighted it, because we like to highlight both. Do you know what I mean? You'll see it here. Just peters out to nothing.
The obvious pass, I would suggest, the one that he completed.
Yeah.
Not a terrible shot, but...
Boys are lucky, but you should be scoring for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's it, mate. That's it. And... if we move on to the next one. So again, here's your lines of 4 that we've kind of talked about all through this. Again, very relatable to Scottish football, I would suggest. Something that we see a lot of. So if we just play it on. What a ball, by the way. What a ball. But again, it's that driving forward and having a runner at the back post.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'll let it play out.
Remember we spoke about the first time where the guys who are standing at the penalty spot held their position.
Yeah.
Well, this time they still hold the position, but they've also got a runner coming in the back now. So there's a wee bit of variation there. They maybe think the ball's going to be cut back here, and it's not. It's getting fired out at the back post, and there's a man behind me, and that's a goal that JFD or Tav are suspect to losing. We're running in behind them on their blind side. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's a well worked goal. We highlighted the centre mid at the start of it, running in beyond that, then allowed the man to come in there and create a wee bit of overload and add an extra man into the attack in the box. And again, it's just a really well worked goal.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Is peak Gerrard time with Tavernier and Borna. More Tav, but with their runs in at the back post. And we had massive success with that. And ultimately, it faded a bit as time went on. But at its peak, that worked bloody well for us. And again, sort of thing that Martin does look for. So looking on to the next one. This is a cutback. It's a bit congested, a bit kind of lazy. But again, instantly firing it out to the right, get a bit of space, drag him about. And there, That's what we were saying about on the other one when you said about people following it in. You can see here's a prime example. So this time, obviously, they didn't score off the first impact, but there was people driving in, and if it wasn't him, there's plenty of other people in the box to pick that up.
I think as well, there's a lot of individuality in this goal. The boy number 6 edge of the box, a baldy looking boy. Ball comes to him, he opens up, shapes to shoot, cuts back in, has a great shot with his left, and that's when it eventually creates a goal. So there's a wee bit of, it's not like the robots and they're asked to go and play this, pass here, play here, pass here. There is still that expressive freedom in it. The ball comes to this boy at the edge of the box, just takes it down his chest, tries to flick it, decides not to, squares it, goes to shape, shoots with his left. So there's a wee bit there of still having that balance there of that's how you want to play and that's how you go and create beat teams, but also go and express yourself.
That's it, mate. That's it. So that's us at an end, actually, the footage that we picked up to review today. For me, personally, as I said, to start with, Russel Martin. God, why are we signing him? But the more footage I watch, the more I think actually his play style could be ideally suited to Scotland. And for a long, long time, I've bemoaned our inability to put away the jobbers, as I term it. I think that's been our downfall for, well, ever since 55, if we're being honest. And I think this could be the guy that's actually got a plan to deal with it rather than just hoping for moments of individual brilliance. What's your thoughts on him then before we finish for the show?
Well, I agree, mate. I agree. I think it's when you first heard it was very underwhelming. It still is for a lot of fans. It's Russel Martin, really, 1% rate of this and that. But when you think that if he can implement that style of football at Ibrox, we'll be some team to watch. With the new players, even with the players that we've got now, you're looking at even a Jeffrey, Raskin, Diamandi, Igaman, Danilo coming into play if he hungries, then we will be a really exciting team to watch. So again, I think it's exciting because we've dove into it and the style of play that he can hopefully implement for us. And I just think that we've covered variations of it. We've covered working hard, pressing. It ticks all the boxes for me. All I wanted was a decent style of play. I didn't think Russel Martin had as good a style of play as he does. And since I've dove into it with you guys, I think that it's brilliant. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So that's it for the initial one. As I said, we are hoping throughout pre-season we'll be coming back to you and hopefully seeing a complete evolution of this team from some of the target stuff last year to what's hopefully going to be a much more exciting brand of football. For now, thanks for coming on today, Dylan. Much appreciated as always.
No problem, mate.
Anyone that is watching and has liked what you've heard, again, please do like and subscribe to the video. Otherwise, until the next time, thanks for watching.